all of them. Because that was the original Japanese or Chinese film of that, and that's what they kept.
I want to play off that a second, because here's my theory on that. Like, the Elizabeth Banks played Rita in this movie almost exactly like how Rita was played in the TV show, right? Mm-hmm. But the main difference was the Rita in this movie was meant to be scary. Like, the Rita in this movie was meant to be intimidating and scary, and that's like the visual aesthetic they went for with Rita. Yeah. But then it was backed by this performance by Elizabeth Banks that was more in line to the original show, but that performance for the original show was meant to be campy and silly, and Rita was wearing like an opera singer's like crazy dress and Madonna boobs, and like boobs. It was very crazy and like out of nowhere. So like it's like choose one, and I feel like they made a weird mix of the two. So I think Elizabeth Banks did a great job. Yeah, I think she did a great job, and I think the writers did a great job. I would almost fault the costume and the design, like the production design for Rita.
But you also want her. You also wanted to look at it and say, if those Power Rangers were to stand toe to toe with her, she would be able to defend herself. Not necessarily win, but she would be a villain.
I also like how they framed it up that she used to be the Green fucking Ranger.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
That was an awesome addition.
I was fine with that.
It's just more character building,
and the fact that Zordon was a Ranger.
Yes, he used to be the leader, and like he was so at fault and he was placed into this wall because he could not like lead them in the right direction.
What they did.
Yeah, and could not get them past that level, and having everyone die. But the craziest thing is when it's very touching and like so cool because he's passing the torch when he like revives Billy.
Yeah, chose to
sacrifices himself finally.
Yeah,
and then gives power over to Jason by saying, "You are the Red Ranger," which was awesome.
And then you know what else was cool? I don't know if you guys noticed this. The fucking soundtrack.
Soundtrack was great.
Was great during their training, when they got the suits and they were walking, and then they played the original. Every time they played music to action scenes, I was like, dude, that's so fucking. That's just
on point.
I loved it.
Also, I thought the martial arts were really good. Yeah. Like, I thought they were fun to watch, and like even their training scene against the putties, like.
I wish they didn't actually call them putties.
Yes, because
I'm
so used to what they looked like in the TV show, and then they're not made out of clay.
Japanese dudes in gray spandex.
Why didn't he just say creatures or
rock something?
Well, I was sitting there like, these are Rita's monsters, the putties, and you're like, ugh, God. Like, I get it. Like, it's supposed to be silly.
It's a little cringeworthy right there.
You didn't have to do that. That's like the one thing you could have forgotten.
I thought when they finally, like the money shot of the movie, when they finally got in the Zords and they were fighting the giant Goldar that had got like super huge, and Rita was controlling the big Goldar and they were controlling the big Megazord, and they were working together. And there was even this moment that I remember specifically when Billy was like Zach says something like, "I'm a leg," and Billy's like, "You're a leg too." Like, he's like, "What? No way, I'm a leg." And like they were just like so excited, like this like element of like discovery, and like they're excited about their powers. It's exactly like how a kid would be if they found out they were superheroes.
The best part of my favorite character, hands down, was Billy, because
that's the coolest thing.
Because he was so pumped.
I agree.
And he
he's the heart.
Yes, the very heart behind the entire team. But he finally, when he morphed the first time, I was like, that was fucking sick, because he showed that he actually gave a shit about everyone, and no one's really realized.
And nobody else cares about each other.
Everybody else really realized that.
They're all selfish, but Buddy, but Power
Ranger?
But Billy was the only one that really was like, hey, I get it. The reason I can't morph is because we can't morph. You guys are kind of not on my level, and. He wasn't selfish, but the other
more self in tune too. By his I don't want to say disability, but he can feel more than they can. Yeah, because they're so like afraid of
self-absorbed.
But afraid of showing who they truly are, because they're so afraid of judgment. But Billy's like, you know what? I'm going to be the fuck who I am, and I go out with when my dad was alive, we go out and we would just scavenge and go out and just explore, and I'm really going to stay true to who I am, because I love doing that.
That was the biggest thing. I agree with you on that, Bleb. That was the biggest thing, because really, honestly, growing up as a kid, Billy was my least favorite of the five.
He was nerdy, just because he's just like I don't want to say lame or anything.
He wasn't as cool as the other ones.
No,
that's really what it was.
But like the other ones are like if you think about the '90s in general, like it's so like you fall in this lane. You fall in this lane. You fall in this lane. It's I don't know what word I'm searching for, but it's just very you know where they're going to go with that specific character. You know how they're going to be.
Speaking of where they're going to go with a specific character, what are your hopes and dreams for a sequel? So let's get into more spoiler territory and talk about that post-credits scene.
You knew it was coming.
I think we were right. I mean, we knew they were going to tease the Green Rangers.
You knew that was coming.
Yeah.
The very opening scene
when you actually saw the Green Ranger.
You saw the Green Ranger defeating Zordon at the very opening scene that showed that she was a former Green Ranger. And you're like, oh, well, you know exactly where this is going. This is a sequel. It's going to be somebody, Tommy, which they teased. It
He's
didn't
not
show
even
him.
There.
He's not. Yeah, we don't know where
he is. And he starts off.
I think you were the most right about that, by the way, Blev. When we had,
but I said it's going to be green or whatever.
Something
like that.
was going to be glowing green.
Yeah, but it wasn't glowing green. It's just
it was his flannel shirt, and so he was green. And you knew what's going to happen is he's going to find that, and the Green Ranger is going to be evil. He's either be corrupted or somebody's going to persuade him.
Rita
to be evil.
in the show, Rita had control over the Green Ranger. Correct?
Yeah, for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, but now instead of so in the show, Rita created the Green Ranger. In this one, she was the Green Ranger and was just a corrupted person. And then she had a yearning for power. So whoever
now she's floating out in space.
Yeah, she's
towards
gone.
her moon base, maybe.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll bring her back. She wasn't interested.
Dude, I think they're going to bring her back.
I think they'll bring her back. What about? Do you think there's going to be a power struggle between Tommy and Jason to lead the Rangers eventually? I think they're leading to that. Don't you think? Like they got to do that.
I think Tommy's going to be the bad boy, and Jason's semi the bad boy, but Tommy's going to be really.
I feel like there's going to be a love interest between Kimberly and Tommy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
That's probably the wedge.
They do date.
There. That's the wedge.
And I think ultimately it's going to be like a power struggle between Tommy and Jason.
Do you think Zordon's going to know?
Do you think that by the third movie Tommy becomes the White Ranger?
Maybe.
I think that. So I think
maybe in the second.
First of all, if you guys haven't seen the announcement, they've actually planned for 6 total movies.
Holy shit! Really?
They've actually released it.
They want it to be like the Marvel universe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So they first of all. Since the release, it's been very successful. The last when they released the total 6 episodes, at the moment it had 80% on Rotten Tomatoes since the release. I don't know what it is now. Yeah,
I thought it was like a 46%.
Well, yeah, that was post before it was released, and it was only 15 people.
Oh, okay.
So
of
course one person. So since its release, it was 80%.
One Rotten Tomato ruins the bunch.
Yeah, right.
But 47%.
What is the 80%?
But 80% liked it.
So what's the difference?
So that's like actual
reviews.
Critics 47% is that, and 80% actually like the movie.
See,
that's why it's
that's a great example, by the way, of Rotten Tomatoes.
That pisses me off.
That's a great example. So critics are all saying 47%, and that makes sense. It makes sense why a critic would say this movie is 47%, but it makes sense to me that 80% of people liked it.
Yeah, because the critics going in there to critique it, while the 80% is going there to be entertained, and that is, I think, a difference. That people need to realize is they're going in to critique it based off of what they believe a movie should be.
Because they're going in objectively.
While I'm going in to be entertained.
Yeah.
And I was entertained, so I liked the movie, and I give it a thumbs up or a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5. But my thought was Tommy is going to become the Green Ranger. He's going to be an actual bad guy, right? Just like he was in the
He's
in
the
the
big bad of the next movie?
He is not the whole movie. Just like the original, he is the bad guy for the majority of the movie, but then there's a new bad guy, which will probably be Zed. Zed is the overarming, but there's going to be this Green Ranger versus Power Ranger. I'm not going to join you. I'm a powerful person. I am the boss. But then, in order to defeat Zed, the 6 of them get together. I don't think it's a leadership red versus green. I think it's the Power Rangers versus the evil Power Ranger who will then join to beat Zed. And that is my thought, which is what really happened. Well, minus the Zed part. It was really Rita takes his powers away because she won't rejoin him because she made him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
In this one, she doesn't make the Green Ranger. He just takes over after she loses her powers.
I think there's kind of like a split, though. Like, I like where Rogan was going with that, the love interest, and I like where Wyatt was going.
That will definitely happen.
I think there's kind of a blend between the two, you know. And honestly, I think Tommy is going to be more of like the rugged guy, and not obviously he wasn't in detention. His coat was his Letterman jacket, and just sitting there. Yeah, he's just doing things. He doesn't care.
So I think
so it's going to be interesting to see that and how it develops.
I also think the cool thing about the original when the Green Ranger, what I loved about the original series is everybody. So the Green Ranger was out creating havoc. So Rita created the Green Ranger. She brainwashed Tommy to be the evil Green Ranger. But the Power Rangers didn't know who the Green Ranger was, right? So the Green Ranger, they were fighting this Green Ranger, but they had a new friend named Tommy. And so, but they had no idea that Tommy, despite the fact that every time he went to school, he was wearing a green shirt.
Hoodie, yeah. He's just like the Letterman jacket.
And so I kind of hope in this one, it's kind of the same thing, is that there's this Green Ranger that they're kind of struggling with, but they might not even know that Tommy's the Green Ranger. He might actually be a friend, or a kind of a, like an aggressive bully / friend kind of thing.
Here's the reason that I think, though, the Green Ranger is going to become the leader, and there's going to be a power struggle, and I think ultimately the Green Ranger becomes the leader, because when I think back to the old show and I think back to the Power Rangers, I think of Tommy. I think of Jason David Frank, or whatever his name. I never get that right. Some 3 name. I think of that guy, right? To me, the leader is the White Ranger. The leader is the Green Ranger that became the White Ranger, and he was in so many episodes, and he's such a cornerstone of that series that I really feel like they might even go after a big name actor to play this role, of that age range, like Zac Efron. Maybe not him, but someone like that.
I really hope they go with a known actor, but not really a well known one. Somebody that's raring to go and trying to make a break.
The dude from the Hunger Games, Chris Hemsworth's brother, Liam Hemsworth.
The bad guy.
Maybe. I don't know, but I don't want to see a token white dude be Tommy. That's the only thing. Is because
That's true.
You think of
maybe make Tommy a girl. Why not?
Yeah, or something. I don't know, but I'd rather not just automatically bank for some hit top actor.
Here's the reason why I don't think there's going to be this power struggle between the two leaders, and then the Green Ranger's going to take it. They spent an entire movie. This first movie was Zordon was coaching Jason. You are the leader of this group. The whole movie was based off of trying to
trust
him with the power to lead this group. It was a whole buildup of a movie, and then in the very next movie, halfway through, you're going to undermine that and say, "Oh, sorry, Jason, you're not it anymore." After I know we spent a whole movie trying to build you up, but now it's going to be Tommy.
But I think that's the reason it's going to be so interesting, is that yes, they were building Jason up to be the leader, and then all of a sudden this guy shows up and wants to be the leader, and the audience is going to want to root for Jason because they know Jason's the leader and they know Jason's been through this.
I think it's going to focus on a bad Ranger. He's going to be an evil Ranger.
So I agree for that. I agree with that, though.
So did you guys get the feeling at all that Zordon was sort of like a dad character for Jason?
Yeah, because his father didn't understand him.
In a semi way, so I don't know if there'll be more dialogue. I think there will be more dialogue between Zordon and actually Jason. Maybe Jason goes to him to confide in him and be like, Who's this Green Ranger? What is going on? I think that's what it's going to be more about the backstory, semi-backstory of the Green Ranger and why Rita really split. What was the really big difference? Maybe there's a little bit more backstory on that. Mm-hmm. And because he's trying to learn more about the Green Ranger and why he's doing what he's doing. Maybe there's more based on that rather than a division and trying to pull in, what Wyatt was saying and what you're saying is that the Green Ranger's going to try, there's going to be more of an archetype character that's going to take over the leader spot.
Did you guys think that Zordon and Alpha 5 played a very small part in the movie too? They were important in the scenes that they were in, but once the Rangers got in their suits and went and fought, they were just gone.
I loved Alpha 5, but I felt like he was a little bit underplayed. But I felt like his interjections were a little corny sometimes, and it's even though that's how he's always been.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that, but I wish Bryan Cranston had more of a volume in the actual story being told. And
I thought Alpha had a perfect amount of comic relief. I'm okay with Zordon being more of this. He was more in the original. He was this very wise, never wrong person.
Yeah.
In this movie, they made him an infallible person.
Yeah.
He was selfish.
Yeah,
and he was like, hey, you guys have to be the Rangers. Actually, you guys suck. I need to come back. You need to sacrifice yourself. I need to come back, and I'm gonna do it because you guys are not worthy. You guys are And that's what he did. And you're like, wow, he's not giving these people a chance. He wasn't even helping them very much. He was so content. Like,